Welcome to Toffee TV. This is the player ratings for Manchester City 3, Everton 0. A disappointing day for Everton at the Etihad. Let's get into it. Jordan Pickford, I don't think he could have done much about the goals, to be honest. First two really good strikes. The third one, obviously, they got a little bit of luck and not much he could do. Made a couple of decent saves. Kicking wasn't great, especially in the first half, and that's, I suppose, something that you want from your goalkeeper when you're up against it, is an out ball. But the amount of balls that actually went back to him, it was always going to be that. A few of them were going to be, maybe weren't going to be great from him. So I've given him a 6. Didn't think he was terrible, but at the same time, don't think he was amazing. Seamus Coleman, let's be honest, his best days are miles behind, and when he comes up against teams like Manchester City, it's becoming increasingly more noticeable. He can't get up the pitch. He struggles to have any kind of composure on the ball, to get the ball away, other than a lot of the time just tacking it up the pitch. And we just genuinely need another right back, a new right back, someone who can get us up the pitch, someone who can get us going. On both sides, really. Obviously, on both sides, we're really struggling for that. I've given him a 4.5. He was just there, wasn't he? He was just there doing his best. I know it's really difficult when you're playing against Manchester City, the way they play, the way they get 2 against 1 on you. It is a real struggle, and he really did struggle today. On the other side, Luca Dean. I think Luca Dean's task was a little bit. I think it was a little bit different because he had a lot more time just one-on-one with Sterling, certainly in the first half. And in some ways that made his job a little bit easier for him because he just had to stop him. And a lot of the time he did that in the first half. But unfortunately with Luca Dean, and it's something that seems to be a tactical decision, they're not allowing him to go forward. They're not allowing him to break up the pitch. And I think that's his strength. I don't think his strength is defending. His strength is he's a modern left back, and the manager's completely stopped that from happening. He's I know obviously the manager wants the defence to stay put, but it doesn't leave us with anything from the player, because the player is a modern left back who wants to go forward, who wants to put crosses into the box. And that's been completely eliminated out of his game, and I don't think there's a good enough player in there to do the job that the manager wants him to do. I just think it's a pointless exercise. I've given Luca Dean a 5 just because I think he stuck to his task, but we've just gotten rid of all of the best bits of Luca Dean this season by making him more defensive. It just seems very strange to me. Maybe less so in games like this, but in other games where he's just not the same player, and he's not being allowed to be the same player, I don't think, either. So I've given him a 5. Michael Keane, I think these are the worst games for Michael Keane, because he really struggles with players who are really alive to the ball. The movements is a killer for Michael Keane. He wants to be defending in a low block and dealing with stuff in the air, and games like this must just be a nightmare for him. He wasn't switched on for their first goal, although it was a good ball, even though the lad had so much time. He wasn't switched on, and it's got in behind him. The penalty decision before that was never a penalty. I wouldn't put any blame on him for that, because it was never a penalty. But he just really struggled with the movement today, as most defenders do against Manchester City. It's so difficult. They've got so many players in the box, moving all at once. It really is difficult. But I think it's the other side of his game, the leadership side of his game is that that he really that we could really do with. Excuse me. And it's just not there. He just doesn't have it, really. He doesn't have it. He's just not a leader at the back. Michael Keane, 4.5. Ben Godfrey next to him. Again, Ben Godfrey's not been anything like the player. And I will just, having just gone through a couple of weeks of COVID, I can pretty much understand why he's not the same player, I must admit. Why he hasn't got to the same levels. But it's been difficult for him, and he's another one who doesn't really show any composure. He just hacks at stuff, just kicks stuff away. It's been tough for Ben Godfrey. He needs someone next to him who's going to help him through games, who's going to teach him how to be that centre-back, and I just don't think Michael Keane has got that. So it was a difficult day for him having to deal with. He did. I don't think he had a terrible game. Just didn't have a very good game. I've give him a 5. Midfield, Fabian Delph. For me, too many times stood off their players. I think that the first goal is a. I'm not saying that was his fault, but the first goal is a big indication of what our midfield was doing all day, which was just standing off. And I just don't think you can do that against Manchester City. If you're gonna go, you've got to press as a unit. And I don't think Delph quite knew where to go or who to press today. Very, very difficult for him. Probably mentally very difficult for him going against players who were bought in to replace him because they're much better versions of him. But again, he's another one. You've got to have a little bit of tenacity. I just don't think he had it today. And he's doesn't really offer you anything in the final third. So again, I've given him a 4. I've given Alan a 4 as well. I think it's really difficult for those players because they're winning the ball. If they do win the ball, then they're not really going to do anything with it. They're not those kind of players. They're the kind of players that just want to win the ball and give the ball. And neither of them had an outlet today. They really didn't have anywhere to go, even if they did win the ball. And they were simply outnumbered by the amount of players Manchester City had in the middle of the park. So I give them both a 4. Gray started. I think he started promisingly. He looked bright. He looked like he wanted to take Walker on. Maybe, I don't know. There was a couple of opportunities I thought early on, and he didn't look like he had the confidence to take Walker on. And I think he actually got himself injured by trying to do too much when maybe he should have been a little bit more direct. He picked up the injury and went off. I've given him a 6 because I thought he was very bright up to then, and again was probably the outball like he is most games, but unfortunately he went off injured, and we'll have to wait and see how long that's going to be. I've given him a 6. Gordon on the other side, I thought it was a really tough game for Gordon. He got swapped over to the left-hand side when Gray went off, and I thought that would have suited him much better. But again, it's that confidence to be able to beat people. Watson played for the under-21s, and he looked really good. He had a lot more time on the pitch. He was cutting in off that left-hand side onto his right foot. He looked really dangerous. But today, the real lack of confidence in his own game when he was picking the ball up, like he just didn't quite know what to do. For me as a young player, I think with the way the side is at the moment, I'd just be trying to express myself and think, right, I'm going to pick the ball up, I'm going to have a go, I'm going to cut in, I'm going to have a couple of shots and see what happens. And I just didn't think he had that confidence to do that. It's a little bit worrying that in a young player. Just pick it up, have a go and see what happens, because nothing else is happening, mate. So you might as well. So I'd like to see a little bit more confidence from him. I think he worked hard, but you just want to see that little bit of bravery. Because if he's not going to give us that bravery, then I don't think anyone else is. I don't think there's anyone out there who's got enough bravery to do that. Give Anthony Gordon the 5. Andros Townsend, I thought Andros Townsend was probably our man of the match. He played in a couple of positions today. He was bright. He tried to get us forward. He was brave. He was trying to do something a little bit different. He was trying to commit City players. To say at least, if I can't get past you, you're gonna have to bring me down. So I thought he was probably the man of the match in both areas he played in. And it was must be difficult for him when he's one of the only ones who's doing it. So I've given him a 6.5. Richarlison, isolated but also poor when he got into the ball. Needless yellow card, which is going to see him miss the next game now against Brentford. Really stupid, pointless, not going anywhere. Player wasn't doing anything. It's just really stupid. And then once he'd done that, then he just dropped completely out the game. I don't think he had any shots on target. Had one attempt of a bicycle kick, which he got completely wrong. But he was completely isolated. But he doesn't hold the ball up well enough either. I think he holds the ball up well enough either to be a centre forward. And that's why he's better coming off the left. Just don't think he's good enough holding the ball up and giving us a platform to play off. I've given him a 4.5. I just thought he was pretty much non-existent today. The subs, Iwobi. I mean, what was he doing? Was it 0-0? He's inside Walker. All he has to do is run straight at the goal and see how quickly he can get there before the defender's got no where to go. You've beaten him. You've cut inside. He's either got to outpace you and get in front of you, or he's going to have to bring you down. And he just stops. He just gives up. And I think that tells you everything you need to know about Alex Iwobi. He is like the biggest thing about to me, he's like the biggest symbol of Everton Football Club. No heart, no desire. He's not really asked whether we win or lose. Doesn't offer anything. Worst, as I said before, I've said it lots of times, he's the worst Everton buy ever. Worst Everton signing ever. Just horrendous footballer. He's not even a good. He's not even a good footballer. He just makes really bad decisions. Might be boss in training. Might be boss when there's no pressure on. It's 7-a-side and show off all your tricks and all that kind of thing. But when it comes to actually playing football, he's absolutely dross. Absolutely awful footballer. And he is like the big warning light for this squad. A player who costs 30 million and is just crap. I think he just tells you everything you need to know. Absolutely everything you need to know. I've got to mention Rondon because he was on the pitch for like 25 minutes, but I seriously don't really remember him touching the ball. I don't remember him doing anything on the ball. He went up front and he stood there and he might have made maybe a bit of a nuisance of himself, but I don't actually remember touching the ball, so I have to give him like a 1 because I just don't remember him doing anything, literally anything for the time he was on the pitch. Tyler Nyango was on for a minute and he probably did about exactly the same. So bad day. Another bad day. And there's going to be more of those bad days ahead, I would imagine, until at least we get the spine back in the side, and then we'll see more of what, more of a real Everton team, I suppose, and then we'll see. But the problem is that you can't sit there sit round waiting for those players to come back. So yeah. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on my player ratings. Yeah. And make sure to check out my instant match reaction and Baz's videos as well. We'll be doing the final word tomorrow on Patreon, live over on Patreon. So make sure you're there to check that out. The links are in the description. See you later.